What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's Jada here, and today I had more of a nuanced topic that I kind of wanted to speak on, and that is pretty much the idea of using nostalgia as a means to kind of garner audiences within the entertainment space. Now, when I say entertainment, I mean TV shows and movies. I feel like these production companies and networks are kind of relying a little too heavily on nostalgia as a tool to bring people in to actually watch their stuff. Like, it seems as though that's the only thing they've been relying on now. And it's just getting to a point where it's like, okay, we've had that moment, now let's move on. You know, like that's kind of where I'm coming from. But, you know, we're gonna get to that part of the conversation. So I do think over time we've had a lot of pockets where I think you could kind of deem it as like golden eras or ages of television or, you know, cinema. And I think it kind of varies from person to person based on who you ask. They might be like, oh, this time period was the golden age. And then someone else would disagree and be like, no, it was this. So I just say that it's a couple of pockets throughout, you know, time. Ever since we had the creation of the camera and the television, and also when we started including sound in the movies and all that stuff. So it definitely was a different experience throughout the decades. But I mainly want to talk about what's been happening within the last 20 to about 30 years. I'd say probably 30 years. That 30-year period from here back to about the 90s. So we definitely had a revival in kids shows and channels. I think in the 90s we did have a good bit of shows that people would say, you know, they were classics and they were, you know, fun to watch. But then there was a little bit of a lull period where they were like, okay, well, how do we connect again with our audiences, with these kids that are watching these shows? Like, how do we invigorate their attention on us and what we're providing as entertainment? So from there, they kind of went with the idea of making spin-offs of shows that were already pretty much successful. At least when it comes to my generation, I want to start off with kids shows. I think two networks in particular that really focused on these kid audiences and growing those audiences and making sure that they really like kept them engrossed and on their channel watching these shows. I would say it was Disney Channel and Nickelodeon. Now, Cartoon Network, I feel I would definitely throw in there as well, but I don't think they really relied too heavily on the spin-offs. So I want to focus on the two networks that I think really was using the whole spin-off thing as a way to get kids reinterested in obviously tuning back into their network. For example, for Disney Channel, we had That's So Raven. Okay, that was a hit show with Raven Simone, who played Raven Baxter, the main character on the show. And then from there, we went to Cory in the House, which, you know, Cory was Raven's brother. Cory and his dad end up going to the White House, and Cory's dad is supposed to be the chef of the White House. So kind of a spin-off, but not really. It's more like a continuation. And then we had Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. That kind of morphed into Sweet Life on Deck, where we had some of the original cast, but mainly a lot of new people. And with Nickelodeon, we had The Amanda Show. That kind of morphed into Drake and Josh. Then we had iCarly and Victorious, and then that morphed into Sam and Cat. Even though Sam and Cat, I think, only had one season, I think there was some issues with like scheduling and being able to film. And then obviously we find out there was a lot of other things going on behind the scenes with, you know, Dan Schneider and all that stuff. So yeah, but there was a lot of TV shows, and then there was also a lot of movies that they just kind of decided, you know, we're not going to make anything new. Why reinvent the wheel? We're just going to take the movies that we had that people liked, and we're just going to make them into shows. So it was kind of like, you know, a mix of those two things. So then we had the rise shortly after that of a lot of movie franchises to kind of capture the teenage viewers. So we've now moved on from that childhood era to now teenage years. And now these networks and production companies are like, okay, what can we come up with to make sure that people keep coming back? And it was like, duh, why don't we make a series of movies based on books that people already seem to like? So like, why not? So that's how we jumped from the TV shows and all these other movies, these kid-friendly movies, to a little bit more on the PG-13 side with Twilight, Divergent, Hunger Games, all these different franchises. I think Divergent kind of came in on the tail end of that whole craze, but I think they did get a little bit of fanfare, but just not nearly as much as like a Twilight or Hunger Games, in my opinion. But regardless, those franchises did really well. Now, I would be remiss if I don't mention also the shows that came along with that new teenage interest. So we had shows like Gossip Girl, Teen Wolf, Vampire Diaries, Glee, One Tree Hill, Pretty Little Liars. Just a lot of shows that were coming out that would garner this teenage audience. And then after that, we had the remakes. Okay, now the remakes, I think personally, is where I started to have a problem. Because at first, they tried to be a little more creative by making a whole new show or movie with new characters, but just using the same formula or plot, but not necessarily the exact same thing. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? It's like they were still trying to use the same formula, but with different characters, different scenery. They tried to at least mix it up a little bit, you know? But then they just started making remakes of the same exact films. Yeah. So in Disney's case, they simply just wanted to make live action versions of the animated movies that already did well. They were like, okay, well, let's just make the live action. Let's just go through our whole list of movies and classics, or at least what people would deem as classics. Let's just go back and remake them. Why go back and try to come up with a whole unique idea for a film if we already know that people like this movie and we could just make a live action version? Like, let's just do that, make money, we're all good. Then it was like, okay, another one, okay, 2 more, okay, next year we're going to be releasing 3, you know, and it just kept going and going, and we haven't really stopped. And outside of Disney, I also heard that they were trying to make the Harry Potter movie series into now an actual TV series. So I don't remember the network that it was supposed to be on, but that's what I heard. I read it somewhere and I was like, why? Nobody asked for this. Like Disney, nobody asked for a live action version of the so-called classics. Nobody asked for that. You know what I'm saying? Nobody came out and was like, this would be a good idea. Disney, do this. Never said that. So it really just, in a sense, looks like you're being lazy, and on top of that, you just know that you're going to make money from it regardless. Now, don't get me wrong, I do think that coming out with something that is new and unique can kind of be a hit or a miss at times, like most things in life. But these networks and companies really need to try. At this point, you need to try, because I really do feel like a lot of them are really relying too heavily on the nostalgia of it all. I just think that it's just, at this point, it has run out. It's gone. It's left the building. And also, when it comes to turning books into movies, please choose the right books. Like, for example, It Ends With Us. That was very mid. Very mid. I feel like just even reading the book, just getting through chapter 1 has been rough on me. The book is sitting right over here. I'm looking at it right now and I'm just like, I'm probably not gonna finish it. It is brain numbing trying to get through these pages. The writing is just lackluster, and on top of that, I think I kind of ruined it because I watched the movie already and the movie was mid. So yeah. I did it backwards. I should have read the book first, but both of them kind of were mid. But anyways, I just feel, honestly, at this point, we need to take the risk. Like, I'm saying we as if it's you and I, but you know, you never know. There might be people watching this video that are trying to make movies and make something really interesting, you know? Go ahead, please. Help. They need help. The networks need help. They need writers. They need people with unique ideas to come out. Please. Because now it's like they kind of don't care because they have so much money, but at the same time they're losing so much money. You know, it's just, yeah. But y'all let me know how y'all feel about this topic. Let me know down below in the comments. I just feel like at this point, in the beginning it was fun, but now it's just getting way too repetitive. Like 1 or 2 movies in Disney's case, you know, remake it, okay, cool. Live action, that's fun. But going through your whole list of movies that you probably ever made, it's a bit much. But you guys let me know your thoughts. Like I said, I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.